All right, we made it to the last Beyond the Ballot of 2020. Don't worry, there'll still be more in 2021. Don't you worry about that. But congratulations on making it this far, and thank you for sticking with the show for this long. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody had a great holiday season. We still got New Year's to go. Hope everybody is, you're keeping your spirits up and doing well. I know it's been a tough year, but I really appreciate you guys sticking with the show, listening, watching, whatever you do. It's been awesome throughout this year. This has been, I got to give a special thank you to Project Sparta. This is the last episode Project Sparta is sponsoring, a whole year of sponsorship. I really appreciate it. You help make the show continue and get better, and it's just been an absolute blessing. Along that same lines, I got to thank my Beyond the Ballot super supporters, Maxwell, Dave, Dennis, and Chuck. You guys, same thing. Also, the Dank Podstash producers besides myself are Dave, Chuck, and Dennis. Just absolutely could not be more appreciative of what you do for the show. You guys make it happen. Speaking of producers, Dennis Wiscount joins me today for this last 2020 episode, and it was fantastic. It even ran a little long, so you get a long episode today, and it was a lot of fun. Talked about all kinds of cool stuff, so buckle up. I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Beyond the Ballot is officially sponsored by Project Sparta. Now's the time to get healthy and in shape. Greg Papanicholas is going to get you there with personalized meal plans, training, group support, and tons of amazing fitness and motivational resources and knowledge, including the Project Sparta Facebook group. You can go to projectspartacoaching.com and learn more about Greg's work and get started on your path to health. In this crazy world we're living in, our health is more important than ever. Get up, start learning, communicating, and training. One of the most important and often neglected things in life is your physical health. Get to projectspartacoaching.com now and get after it. Shout out to Voluntary Apothecary. Voluntary Apothecary is here to fulfill all of your beard care needs. They carry beard oil, mustache wax, beard butter, and more. I only use their beard care products, and I love them. You can check out their amazing products at voluntарyapothecary.com, and listeners of the show can take 10% off your order with code BEYOND at checkout.
Professional anarchists.
You guys are getting paid?
All right. We're here for the last episode of Beyond the Ballot of 2020. I think everybody's ready for the end of 2020. Not necessarily for the last episode of 2020, but there's going to be another one next week anyway, so don't worry about that. But I'm joined by the Beyond the Ballot producer, Dennis Wiscount. What is up, man?
Not too much, sir. How about you?
Not a whole lot. We just had an excellent video game conversation, and I'm sure we'll fucking circle back to that and talk about that more because people like it when we talk about video games on here. But before that, I don't know. I just wanted to, this was originally going to be solo, and I was like, fuck it. Let's get Dennis on here, and we'll fucking bullshit for an hour. And so I said I wanted to talk about resistance going into 2021. That's something I was thinking about. And what was in my head when I was thinking resistance for 2021 is, that's kind of the message that we see online from our circles, right? It's like the only way all this is going to end, the only way that the state doesn't get complete control through everything that they're doing now is if people start resisting. And it's just like, there's tons of ways to resist besides just railing against masks or not wearing a mask or anything like that. And it usually comes down to what you're comfortable doing, the risk versus reward kind of thing, especially when it comes to all these small businesses. And it looks like a lot of the resistance is paying off in a lot of cases. They're just staying open and challenging anyone to do anything about it. They're racking up fines. And there's even, I can't remember where it was. I think it was either a gym or a restaurant that won their case, and he got to tear up all of his citations and fines in court and reopen. And it's just like, yeah, that's
The
exactly
New York gym owner. Yeah, they just posted that.
exactly. That's what I think needs to be happening, and I like to see it. I'm seeing it happen more and more, and that's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. I'm sure somebody will post it or comment it, but I know there's a website that oh man, I'm blanking. I'm terrible with names and ideas tonight, but there's a site where if you're defying arbitrary edicts that aren't necessarily about keeping people safe, but kind of screwing you monetarily, you can post that you are open, you can come in and eat and all that other stuff. In Pennsylvania, I think it was, I want to say maybe the last week in November or the first week in December. Somebody will probably either comment or tell you. But the governor of Pennsylvania, quote unquote, tested positive for COVID. And it made a lot of the restaurants nervous because they're like, are you going to freak out and, knee jerk, all this other stuff? And he was like, no, it'll be okay. So there was like 4 Italian restaurants in like Lebanon, Hershey, and I want to say somewhere near Harrisburg. Since they sort of projected they would be open, they bought like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively in food for the following week, like to cook for people to come in and sit down. And like after he told them no, the next fucking day he shut them down. And they're just like, I'm not like, yeah, he was like, the one guy on Facebook, he just sort of said, listen, I am not like sending my serving staff home. This is Christmas. Second of all, I blew all this money on food and supplies and I'm going to stay open. Like, I am not going to change like the quote unquote health department's like restrictions, like as far as spacing or seating or masking requirements. But like, I'm going to be open to serve people.
Yeah.
The place nearest to me, they're called Libby's. They used to make ice cream. The family still makes ice cream, sorry, but they had a restaurant that they sold to a family. They're defying it. They remained open. I was going to go support them, but like every time I've gone, they've been like no parking.
Yeah.
Because like they're the only place open and people are fucking supporting them. So it's like,
Yep.
I could probably go and wait like, an hour to sit down and eat, but I'm just kind of like,
they're getting support. Yeah. They're getting that support. And it's around here in the Spokane area. There's a lot of places, especially bars. They're for some reason, the city of Spokane, the health department says, if you put up one of those big outdoor tents, then you can do that. And they have like heaters in them and stuff. And it's just like, what the fuck is the difference between sitting in an enclosed tent with heaters and sitting inside? And so most people just put them up and then they're just open inside. Nobody sits in the tent. Yeah. It's just like, what is this?
They have that giant fucking propane heater that they can switch over to air conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, God.
And that the people that you were talking about in Pennsylvania, they're fucking right. Like, it's Christmas time on top of, just any time that your employees want and need to be paid. They want to work. Not to mention all the fuckery for the relief bill that's going on right now. And so all that's on hold. So even if they were to go on unemployment, they're still fucked. And it's just like, it's the only places that are being shut down are these little places. The fucking food court at Costco is still open. The food courts at malls are still open. Fucking Walmart's still open. All this shit. And it's just like, it's just picking and choosing big corporations versus the little guy. And it's a matter of survival, literally, for these people who, not just their businesses, but that's their livelihood. So, and they're get just outstanding support every time they stay open. So keep doing that. If you have a business, everyone's going to support you. And it's the only way to get through this.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I know I talked to you about it back when it was the Dank Pod Stash. Just in terms of like community building or knowing people in your area or your street. Like, one of the things that's kind of bothering me is I still see like suicide statistics, and like the last year I think my mom's alma mater, Minersville, like 3 teens killed themselves over like isolation and, you know, everything that's kind of going on. Like, I can't say that like knowing those people or, you know, living on their street or being able to help them might have stopped it. But like, you know, that's literally what fear, isolation, and, you know, all that forced bullshit does. Like, I'm aware, like, there is a very real virus out there, but I just don't like the draconian message that, like, you know, governments have like done.
Sure.
Like, there's a human cost to that I think is far greater than, you know, the risk of infection.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I definitely am not on the, you know, the virus is fake, it's all a hoax train by any means. You know, I have friends and family who have had it and had either no trouble at all getting over it or been in the ICU for a long time. And I haven't had anyone die, thankfully, but I know people have. I know it's real. But the way that they're rolling out all of the shutdowns continuously, and now with the vaccine, they're saying, oh, even if you get the vaccine, you're still going to have to wear masks. You're still going to have to social distance. And it's just, you know, fuck off. Like, what's the fucking point then? Just keep everything closed forever, no matter what solution you offer that's lining Pfizer's pockets and your pockets and all this shit. No, eat a dick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I personally do not like wearing a mask, like, whatsoever, but like, if my kids want to do it, like, I don't force them to like live out my ideologies, basically what I'm getting at, you know. Like, my wife just got the vaccine today, and she kind of dropped it on me like Christmas Eve, and I had like a heart attack, like worrying like myself sick over like what could happen, because, you know, you read shit, and you know, she went and got it and everything's fine, and like she was showing me like some of the doctor groups and stuff she has on Facebook, and that's where I had messaged you earlier. There was like, you know, nurses and female doctors that were just like and just some general people that flowed into those similar mom groups and physician groups. They're just like, oh, I hurt all the way to my fingertips, oh my god, and then it burned my arm. And I'm just like, coming from a guy from the age of 8 to like 26 who used a syringe and vials of insulin, like, one, your nurse hit a nerve ending that's going to hurt your fingertips. And 2, the lady's a total bitch and didn't warm up the vaccine by like rolling it in her hands a little bit. So you got an ice cold injection. That's going to burn you hard too.
Sure.
But other than that, there are like I said, legitimate concerns from, you know, people who suffer and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that though. Like, in terms of like resistance and everything, like, if you could roll out, like, let's say, like, you know, the people that could get the vaccine without adverse reactions, you know, they do all this, and, you know, Pfizer ekes out a profit, and, you know, people get reassurance that they have antibodies. Let's, you know, I'm being as idealistic as I can right now. Sorry. You know, I'm sure this ship has full tons of holes in it. I'm currently sinking to the bottom of Mariana's Trench with this dream, but just let's float them by a little bit longer. You know, you would think that they would look at that and go like, all right, like, you know, let's just go back to normal. You know what I mean? And not descend into like Mad Max.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, there's a whole lot of reasons I'm not interested in taking it. And, you know, they've been discussed ad nauseum. Everybody who's listening has seen a billion different reactions, or the fact that Pfizer won't be held accountable, you know, the Bell's palsy, the nurse that fainted on stage, the infertility concerns, all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, I'm just glad I'm not in the first wave, so we can see if people do have these reactions long term. And second, it's like, seeing the people that I know personally.
Get it tested for me, medical nerds.
Yeah. Well, seeing the people that I know that have had it and come out fine on the other side, it's like, I'd rather take that risk than risk whatever the fuck is in a rushed vaccine. And I'm not even anti-vax.
Right. No, I agree. I have no desire to take it. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I just told my wife, like, maybe in like 5 years, once they figured out and, the beta test is over and maybe those risks vanish. But till then, no, I'm okay.
Yeah. And this is a weird line too.
But did you see that? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is a weird line between legitimate concerns and wild conspiracy theories. And we'll be talking about more of that after this too, but there's just, crazy shit that people are saying, with the nanobots they're injecting into you with the vaccine and all that stuff. And who fucking knows?
Hell yeah.
There's just no reason to take it that far when it's very easily justified to not take it for very good reasons.
Yeah, I mean, like, if there was something so insidious, like, you would literally have to have, like, a standing army greater than the ones of, like, every police force in every state, including, federal agencies and, the actual army and Nat Guard and stuff like that. You'd have to have all of those people on board, and you would have to, like, go to door, like, the wildest fantasy of going door to door and forcing a vaccine that, does all this amazing stuff. And then you would have to believe in a government that is not so full of corruption and gross incompetence to make it.
Yep. Absolutely. No, it's
I mean, that's, yeah.
I keep seeing, I saw one thing today about, I think it was an ad on Facebook someone screenshotted that FEMA was hiring, and it's like offering $2,800 paychecks, in your first year of working for FEMA, and they need so many employees, and they're like, it's coming. The FEMA camps are coming. They're hiring more employees.
It's coming.
That's a pretty weak thread to base that on, but we do. I don't know. I love talking about wild conspiracy theories and thinking about post-apocalyptic shit. And I don't know if it's going down that road with this, but I think the resistance stuff we're talking about could lead down a similar road, because before the vaccine stuff, like ever since 2019, the Second Amendment rallies and stuff like that, the ideas of secession and resistance in many different forms have been picking up speed. And I know this is pushing people into those camps, no pun intended. It's what's happening right now.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah. I might have brought it up before, but there's a book. It was written by a journalist. I'm blanking on it, but it's called like The 11 Nations of America. And it breaks down like the entire like contiguous 48 and what sort of each region falls into, like tribe wise. And it sort of glossed over a little bit, but it said, like, if balkanization were ever to happen, probably the most peaceable solution would be like if it broke up along the same lines of what this looks like.
Is that okay? So that's American Nations: A History of the 11 Rival Regional Cultures of North America by Colin Woodard. That's going on my Audible list.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, that's it. Yes. But I think like the middle of Pennsylvania where I'm at, like all the way to like parts of North Dakota, it's like New Dutchland or something like that. And then like northern PA all the way up to like Maine is just like Yankeedom. But it kind of offers like a roadmap to what secession could look like if you're trying to group it by, quiet or loud ideologies, in short, tribalism.
Yeah.
Speaking of conspiracies, did you see that wild one about the nurse who fainted, that somebody like based on her like name and appearance, they found her and supposedly she's dead?
Yes.
Like she's from Tennessee somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen, so there's people comparing pictures of her when she came back on after no one could contact her for a week, and they're like different color eyes, different facial structure that people are comparing. And then during that time when no one could contact her, apparently someone uploaded a video that she had made from like 2015 saying that she was okay. I don't know. I didn't jump down that one because it doesn't really matter to me. Like that's a really small incident for a humongous, conspiracy theory to come out of. It would be fucking wild if the vaccine killed her and she died on fucking live TV or whatever, but.
Right. Oh, man. Or like the bombing in Tennessee on Christmas. I saw it like while we were chatting, like even before we got on Zoom. The police chief was just like, unfortunately, the bomber died in the explosion. I'm just like, wow, thanks, CIA.
Yeah.
Like that one meme where it's like, who the hell would set off a bomb announcing it's going to explode at 6 a.m? And like, it shows the meme of the Central Intelligence Agency getting up at 6 a.m. going, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been reading on that for a couple days now, because that's the next wildly unfounded conspiracy rabbit hole I want to jump down to. I'm loving the stuff around this.
Oh hell yeah.
My favorite two.
The Civil War between the CIA.
Well, that, and there's just so much good stuff around this one, especially the memes. Like you saw in our friend group the pictures of the grainy Sam Hyde driving the RV. That one's great.
Yes.
That one's classic. And then I think my personal favorite is someone shopped Hillary Clinton in driving the RV. I'm like, that's even better. This is perfect.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yep. No, but the one thing that I've seen that's
Oh my God.
given me some pause is a friend of mine has found some videos on Twitter, and he's posted some other videos that have been taken down over and over. And it's kind of reminiscent of the Las Vegas shooting. I found some crazy videos coming up on LiveLeak and YouTube of people in the crowd shooting, and they're just gone.
Boy.
You can't find them anymore. And this one is a view. So
Wow.
I don't know which way the street runs where the bombing happened in Nashville, if it's east-west. But let's say if you're standing with the street running perpendicular to you, the first camera angle that came out was on your left, and you couldn't see the RV down to the right of the explosion. It was just a bright light, and you heard the warning beforehand. And now there's video coming from the other side of other cameras, and you can see the RV parked if you're facing the street on the left-hand side, and the explosion comes from the right hand of the side of the street in the buildings. It doesn't even come from the RV. Like, those videos are still up. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's clearly some fuckery here. And no one's talking about that. Like, what is happening?
But yeah, Right. And that feeds in that whole conspiracy, like back at election season when they said there's this conspiracy that like there's a civil war in like the deep state and the soup can guys that we can't get rid of. Like there's actual red-blooded American alphabet guys that want us to still be balkanized as America, and then there's like the other guys that want to follow this great new leap forward or whatever the hell they called it into 2030 that want to globalize. And I can't even say this without laughing, but like they're at war. So like these globalists are supposedly pushing Biden and they rigged the election. And there's that thing about the firefight in, was it Germany or somewhere? And supposedly there was like agents who died in the firefight and they were like the bad agents, and they reported they supposedly died in Africa. And like, you didn't hear much about it for a while. Then this explosion happens, and I got like all these pictures of like people saying that, you know, which has been a while since I jumped down this hole, but like it was sort of common knowledge around 2010, 2011 that the NSA and AT&T had like a thing like this together. And like, I think it was New York, Baltimore, LA, and I think one other city, because you're going back 10 or 11 years, they had telecommunications buildings, but they're fortified like forts, and was secretly a hub routing point for data collection to where out where Daniel lives in Utah. But supposedly since then they have up to 14, and supposedly that location is one of them, and that feeds more into what we just talked about, that conspiracy that AT&T and the NSA/CIA, the good guys, got the Dominion data. Right. And then the bad CIA guys.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. Sorry. So speaking of the Dominion data, I've been sent this multiple times by multiple people, and it's a copy paste that's going around, completely unverified, before I start reading on this and putting out the points, because I didn't feel like it, because it seems extremely ridiculous. But who knows? It could be true, and that'd be wild. But it's not down the line of like the good CIA got the info and the bad CIA got the info. Apparently, they were trying to destroy those Dominion voting machines. So it says that AT&T got a contract to do the forensic audit on the Dominion voting machines, and they were being moved to Nashville in the last week before the bombing. The former owner of the AT&T building in Nashville is a supposed William Kinnard, is a board member for Cerberus Capital Management and AT&T. He was also Bill Clinton's FCC chair and Obama's ambassador to the EU. And the Dominion voting is owned by Cerberus Capital Management. Cerberus is run by Staple Street execs. Joe Biden's brother-in-law, Stephen Owens, is the co-founder of Staple Street execs, along with William Kinnard. So apparently there's a supercomputer in Tennessee, which is connected to the AT&T internet in Nashville. And yesterday evening, I don't know when this was written, but it says yesterday evening, the Cumberland River cooling system was compromised due to internet outage, and the supercomputer was fried. Let's see. Yeah, and there's just a bunch more, but supposedly the explosion, quote unquote, just happened to be at the AT&T location where they just so happened, quote unquote, to control the cooling system for the supercomputer and house the Dominion voting machines and drives for the forensic audit. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be too hard to put all those links together if they're true. I just haven't taken the time to verify it because I wanted to speculate wildly about conspiracies on this episode. So,
yeah, because that's more fun.
But it seems like it could be
verified.
Man,
I just want to meet like a like a supercomputer AI that's like HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
To see like, an overweight ATF agent waddling through to shut down the water, and it's like, what are you doing, Dave?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, but all right. So with the Nashville bombing, the skeptics, it's all good. The skeptics, the people who aren't buying the conspiracy theories, are saying, all right, it's just some boomer who is a disgruntled AT&T employee. And that's the narrative, apparently. It's the person they're looking into. And the funniest part about that is this guy who was an AT&T employee who supposedly rigged up that warning and the bomb from the RV and all that. They found tissue samples, someone blown up in the RV, and they're trying to match it. Apparently this guy's been missing, and the way that they linked the RV that blew up to him was a fucking Google satellite image. And it said, yeah, we saw on this satellite image that his RV looks similar to the one there. I'm like, have you used Google satellite imaging to look at RVs anywhere? Because they're all tan rectangles. It's just different sizes.
Yeah, they're all tan. Unless you're like that super rich boomer who, still has like the 3 fucking pensions and great Social Security and a fucking trust fund left over that they can buy that one that looks like a goddamn Greyhound bus.
Right. But this is a fucking...
They pretty much all look the same.
This is an old, sleeper over a van cab RV. How many of those are sitting in people's fucking yards around Nashville, and they're like, oh, this must be the fucking guy right here. He's got one on Google Street View. It's like excellent police work. Excellent police work.
That's it. We got him.
It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
Probably sitting in his fucking yard all rusted out. In the bottom it says for sale. Yeah. Price firm. I know what I got.
Exactly. No, it's just like the official story is the opposite of the fun conspiracies at this point. Like, the official story is just like with everything else, every other official story with everything that's happening right now. It's just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is what they're putting out there. They're not even trying anymore with anything.
Maybe look at like Mrs. Krabappel from The Simpsons. Let's be like, she's fucking dead. I don't care. Yeah. Just walk away.
Well, no, and it's funny you say that because that's exactly what they're hoping for. Because if from the raid area 51 or storm area 51 to now, what has every big hype sensation done? Everyone's like, fuck it, it's done. They're dead. It's over. Whatever. The only thing that has kept on with someone not saying, they're dead, is Epstein didn't kill himself. That's the only thing. Every once in a while, people are still saying Epstein didn't kill himself. Nobody gives a fuck about anything else that's happened because it's the latest blip on your news feed. It's the latest blip in the mainstream media cycle, and it's just over. No one cares anymore after a month tops, and that's a long time.
Yeah, usually it's the Monster of the Week, even Monster of the Day episode, like a serial or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once we move from that, it's really fascinating the way they sort of use language and psychology to like peddle their fear porn. The last time I watched the news, I think, oh man, you're going back many years, but it was it like a Bleak Street memo or something like that? It was when Bush was in charge. There's like some memo that leaked out, and like the way they kept peddling it was like they kept repeating like Bleak Street. I'm messing it up. I'm sorry,
Sure,
viewers. You probably know what I'm talking about, and you're like, but let's just go like BS Street memo. We'll call it that. But they would keep repeating that phrase over and over and over, so you would like retain it in your head. And the way they would talk about it, they would have real stiff body language, and they'd just be really intense about it to make you like amped up for fear. And like the more I paid attention to it, the more I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna buy this. Like this is like, I don't care. And like, was it Thomas Jefferson, the guy that said like, the guy who doesn't read the newspaper is probably better off knowing that he knows nothing than the guy who sits and reads it. I know I'm heavily paraphrasing, sorry, but
no.
That one's, for what it's worth, has always stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting watching how the media does that stuff. Because we know that if you're talking about Boogaloo, gun rights, anything like that, any news story that has anything to do with that kind of stuff is far right so-and-so does X, and guns pops in there, that buzzword, and this and that. Anything that is against their narrative is far
Assault
right.
rifle.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting when I did the War Room episodes with William Gadsden. One of the things that he brought up was the culture of losing that the mainstream media pushed before the election. Just like if you vote for Trump, you're going to lose, is the message they were trying to put in people's heads by projecting so hard that like what a terrible chance he even had. And nobody wants to vote for the loser if they figure they're going to lose already. It's just like betting. And it goes with anything from the Epstein thing didn't last long. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't last long because it's something they don't want to talk about.
No,
they don't
that lasted
want in there.
Shorter than Epstein.
Yeah, exactly. And so they just leave it off. But if it's something that they want to attack on and get people against, then they're going to go fucking hard on it and make you feel like you're an idiot for supporting it or believing it or whatever, and, push that negative image of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know it's been said probably like billions of times long before I ever heard it, but Facebook, he's Luis Fernando Mises. He posted it like when I was first friends with him on my old account before it got deleted. He posted that meme that just said, the revolution won't be televised, and just that started to like key me a little bit more into, when people complain about like, oh, why is Antifa on the news and all this other stuff, I'm like, because they're not part of the revolution.
Right. Because they're attacking garbage cans.
Like if the big alphabet news media corpos are, backing these guys, chances are they're not much but a distraction.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. They are doing some things, but
look at fucking Salem,
sorry, go ahead.
Oregon the other day at the Capitol building. There were 300 people tried to bust in to a session that was declared, closed to the public, talking about COVID relief and stuff and moving forward with mandates in Oregon. And they wouldn't let people in for a public session. They wanted to do it closed door, make the decisions themselves. Fucking 300 people were breaking windows, busting down doors, trying to get in. There was no live coverage. There was nothing. They were scrambling until they could spin it how they wanted to, saying it was all Proud Boys, it was all this and that, and it was all these redneck, right-wing people. And sure, there were plenty of them there, but it actually a ton of people from Oregon trying to get into a meeting that they were denied access to about their future. And that didn't even stay in the news cycles for 24 hours.
No, course not.
It's just wild. It's crazy, and it's just
Rarely does it ever.
You see the people who are more, I always get dragged for saying this, but I'm gonna fucking say it anyways because it's what I see, and it's the people who are more left leaning on my friends list and my social media that seem to buy these narratives, hook, line, and sinker, and I'm talking left leaning as in not, what's the word? I guess more centrist anarchists, more black flag anarchists.
Like they're not democratic, but they're, centrist, yeah.
And the same thing happens with the far right or further right leaning anarchists and stuff. The super, fedora tipping ANCAPs and stuff. They hang on hook, line, and sinker to Fox News and the Trump stuff too. Yeah, exactly. It's just wild because these people are saying, fuck the government and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they latch right on to what the corporate media is saying and what the official report is one way or another, and it's just like it sinks its claws into every level. I don't know how you would even avoid that.
Yeah. Speaking of right and Trump, did you see that conspiracy theory? It's on 4chan. It keeps getting recycled as like copy pasta. But basically they're claiming that like a nuclear I can't even say it without laughing. Nuclear explosion is going to detonate in DC because there's this like piece of form or whatever, and it's written in the Chinese language, and it just says in parentheses like assassinate Trump by January 6th. So somehow January 6th the nuke's going to go off in DC, and then China will declare war or something.
Well,
and there's all these people like. I think my favorite reply to those threads is when somebody has that SpongeBob meme where they're handing them like a big thing of pills, and it's the SpongeBob waiter, and it's just like your pills, schizo. They're like, yeah, that's totally how it's gonna happen. They probably already got out of the country, and I'm like, dude, they recycled that shit 20 fucking years ago during like the threat of terrorists,
right?
When they're selling that after 2001.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that you bring up.
But yeah, that's another one going around.
Well, that it's a Chinese plot because apparently there's 50,000 Chinese troops on American soil in fucking Maryland or Maine or some shit. Have you read that conspiracy? And that's why there was a fucking earthquake over there, is because there was a big battle and like bombs and shit, and there's fucking fights going on in the ocean with ships. It's like, no, come on. Like there's no cell footage, nothing of this.
No. Listen, I'll be honest. My brother-in-law, he works at the Pentagon. He pretty much hasn't said anything. Like he doesn't betray his country, mind you. He wouldn't tell you anything secret. He'd just tell you like, hey, might be a good idea for you to stay the fuck home this weekend. You might just like pass that along to you without telling you anything. But and I have tons of friends left in Maine that haven't said anything so far as a murmur about any Chinese troops. So I'm not too sure about.
That's one of the weirder ones. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I'm like, I don't think that they could get 50,000 Chinese troops onto American soil without, people finding out outside of the media's control.
Somebody knowing.
Yeah, that'd be pretty hard to do. And now I don't know if there's another thing I've heard about China that I have not been able to verify or anything. You can't just Google this shit, but apparently Sky News in Australia has been covering this, and it's that there's like some of the worst black and brownouts, like losing electricity over there that they've ever had in the middle of winter.
Oh yeah, over because they don't have Chinese, or not Chinese, they don't have
coal,
access to Australian coal.
Well, they do
for their power plants.
The Australian ships are apparently out there ready for them, but there's all the sanctions that not only they're imposing, but that other countries are imposing, and they're refusing to take it. All this stuff. That's what Sky News is saying, and there's like literally people freezing and starving.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, so like you said, it's sanctions. I couldn't remember what it was. It's something to do with like there's ships full of coal ready to go, but there's some monetary reason why it's not going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And it's, the stuff that I have looked into, like I never ended up doing the episode I was going to do solo about the whole Hunter Biden laptop scandal and how for some reason Ukraine is the place where money is always funneled through. Like that's the fucking place to do it, and it has been for years now. As far as China and the U.S., it's insane what goes on through there and why and how.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some moves being made by China and stuff monetarily and picking up territory, and I think the next big war is going to be in Africa because of it. But having to do with China and through this stuff and why they're expanding and buying into these resources, crypto, all this other stuff is apparently their currency is getting ready to collapse. Apparently there's just horrible shit going on in China and we don't know anything about it
because
of how tight they are with their communications and stuff.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I am blanking on the guy. He used to be in our circle of friends, but he's a pilot, and he used to talk about. Do you know who I mean? I know he had like one of those like faker names.
I don't.
Like, damn it! He just used to talk about like flying over to Southeast Asia, like China and stuff, and just kind of claiming like when you see China in movies, you mostly see like Beijing or Hong Kong. You don't go like 35 miles east, west, or north and see like the villages that are still, not as modernized as say Beijing or Hong Kong is. And that's always kind of stuck with me. And I'm certainly not defending them, but like in China's case, they can kind of play the long ball, whereas like they can look at like countries that have an election system. I mean, I know China has an election system supposedly, but you know what I mean? Every 1 to 4 years, it's possible you're going to have to deal with a new figurehead in the States or, a European country. So
yeah,
keep plugging along about your long-term goal and just deal with the next idiot in charge that comes along. And it's less chaotic for them. I'm not saying they don't have problems. I'm not saying what they've done is not reprehensible. I'm just saying that, one of the nice things about being like the only dude in charge until you keel over is, you can play a long ball with your political aspirations.
Sure. Well, it's not like a surprise that any country would mess in any other country's, political affairs in any way up to and including elections. Because then this shit happens if they can't at least control it a little bit. Their fucking people are starving and dying in the cold because of all these sanctions and shit. And it's like, whoa, fuck. We weren't able to influence that election quite enough. That's a big mistake. But no, it's... And, I was just thought of another fucking thing that ties back to what I was talking about Ukraine. And that was with Trump on his way out. The presidents always are pardoning people on their way out. It's their last thing or whatever. And everybody's pushing for, of course, Ross Ulbricht, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, the people who should be pardoned. And yet he pardons a bunch of asshole, legit pieces of shit from Blackwater. And talk about Ukraine.
Blackwater, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's another thing that's just blatant right in your face. They just don't even give a shit.
They don't give a shit. That's their friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to, the web is so vast and sticky when it comes to Ukraine and Eric Prince and Blackwater and foreign lobbying and all that stuff. And I've said it a million times on this show, and I still need to get the host of the show I'm going to talk about right now on this show at some point if I can. But Robert Evans hosts Behind the Bastards, and it is a great show. It's hilarious, but the info is insane. He does a great job with his journalism, actually backing all this stuff up. So if you want to learn about that tangled web of money and everything flowing through Ukraine and mercenaries and all that stuff, and how not only what all is happening, but what ridiculous fucking people they are. Like, I don't even understand how these people got this power other than just being confident and lying. You got to listen to Behind the Bastards.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a great show. The other thing, not so much conspiracy, but I guess it sort of leans into speculative conspiracy. Boomers and some Gen Xers that I want to say were closer on the cusp to the boomer generation, if that makes sense. Like, how like when generations overlap, there's some values that sort of can transmute just how close they are. They all sort of looked at Ukraine and Hunter Biden's laptop because all that came out, October, November with the heat up to the election. And, you had Giuliani and a lot of other people sort of jumping all over that, trying to promulgate that in the news as much as possible. None of the major media corporations were really touching it. It was just his laptop was misplaced and they really downplayed it. And there's this narrative they spun on it. But like you said, the sticky web, you could find some serious shit in him. I mean, 4chan had it, Reddit to some extent had it, but they have a tighter control on data and stuff. But to put all that forth, it was kind of just like, these are really terrible fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have no values. There's nothing coherent or anything warm about these people, and they're corrupt as hell. And a lot of those people I was sort of prefacing that with were like, yeah, the CIA, the FBI, they got to do something. And it was just like, it went filed away. And when you just would sort of look at those people who are still, very statist and comfortable in their proclivities in that regard, I would just say, like, doesn't that make you angry? He still won the election. His son's going to go untouched, all this other stuff. And the way they knee jerk, going into that conspiracy reaction as well, probably the good guys that could have busted them, they're probably going to keep all that as a trump card so that, if they need funding or they want to do something, they can just wag it and, Biden's corrupt face and get some good in there somewhere. And I'm just like, that's not how good or evil works. That's just lesser evil. Well, and it's connecting with bigger evil.
Yeah, and there's going to be zero leverage once fucking Biden keels over 30 days into his presidency, and Kamala is the new president. So, fuck.
Oh yeah. That's the other popular theory, that he's either going to keel over or they're going to assassinate him because he's going to die of COVID mysteriously.
Yeah,
he's going to get COVID in office and he's going to die of it. Or what was the other one?
Mentally unfit.
They're gonna accuse him of being like mentally unfit. That's it, and then he'll resign,
mm-hmm.
and Kamala, will take over.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing.
I was just gonna say my favorite thing was that weird marriage of BLM and one of the most draconian
mm-hmm.
offenders of putting innocent black people away for a plant crime, and they're chairing these two, and one of the most corrupt government officials for 60 years, who's also been documented as one of the most horrifically racist. They're like, oh, Black Lives Matter and Biden, and they win, and it's almost certifiably official they win, and then they're all fucking crying, they won't be with us.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, they don't give a shit about you.
What did you expect?
Yeah, no, they just wanted the votes. They wanted the hype. You gave them free publicity.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have any leverage with them. That would be the statist way of thinking about it, is get some fucking leverage instead of just giving them free hype. You fucking idiots. But no, what else? What else would you think would happen from that?
I was kind of hoping the just desserts weren't going to come that soon, but man, they just right in there. So that.
Yeah, it's clear. And the
claim comedies and the timing, I just didn't expect it to be that fast.
The massive cope.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just the cope. The cope from that side is fucking, watch yourself, Biden.
Cope.
We didn't really want you. We just wanted to Trump out. We don't care about you either. And it's just cope harder, bro.
Yeah, good luck with that. What are you going to do? Have a special recall election and get another Democrat in that might listen?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what are you going to do? Riot more? That obviously didn't change fucking who was the president either. What's your threat here when you're saying to watch it because we didn't want you either? It's all just nonsense. They're getting played.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No.
It's just a random roving band of damage and destruction.
Yep. I don't know. It should be an interesting year going into 2021.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see.
What do you got? What
The
do you
other
think's gonna
thing
happen?
too.
Oh, sorry. Tell me the other thing, and then tell me what you think's gonna happen.
No, I was just gonna cover real quickly, like when the ATF, since they knew that Biden was coming in and a supposed strong anti-gun stance, or at least what he rode his ass in on through November. They took open comments with the Department of Justice on reclassifying pistol braces.
Mm-hmm.
So like my boy Shay Grubbs and like everybody else who has a freaking AR pistol, they're like sitting there going, "Oh, what does that mean?" They're like, "Oh, well, don't worry, we're going to give you a free registration for your SBR." And I'm just like, SBR, they had all that, and what did it have, like a week and a half of comments, and they retracted it.
Yep, they got wrecked.
And then those two veteran cops, was it in Columbus, Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
They like beat the fuck out of that plainclosed ATF detective and like cuffed him and
tased him while he was in cuffs.
Like it was weird. In the same week, this is going back to in the same week that they posted that, I swear it was just so weird. Like the news media just kind of turned on the ATF. They posted the whole thing going after pistol braces. Like an ATF plainclothes gets the shit kicked out of him by two cops in Columbus. I think it was Columbus, so don't hold me to that. Mm-hmm. And then like minorly, I forget what state, but an ATF agent got arrested for stealing liquor. And it was just like, in a short week, like all this like news came out after him. And then like halfway through the next week, they're just like, notice to withdraw.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm telling you.
And
all of these people, even from the ATF, like low-level agents up, if you're in government, it's all just a bunch of people without morals doing whatever the fuck they want to improve themselves. Stealing liquor, whatever. That's all it fucking is.
Like, and God, what was the other thing? Was it, I'll have to look it up. I'll message you about it later. But another one was just talking about how the ATF, I think the weight minimum is like 220, but there's no BMI requirements.
Nice.
So like you could be like 5'5" and 225 and look like, Danny DeVito, and you'd probably get in. But that one, like all those three articles, and then them putting that comment section or the open comment, I guess it didn't like pan out too well for them. But so you asked me about going into 2021. I think that I think business will probably be the same as usual. I just think like it'll be more corrupt oligarchs, like, the way it was with Obama and Biden. From 2008 to 2016. I think they'll do a lot of saber rattling like Obama did. Like he would make comments about guns and say guns are terrible, but do nothing about it. Mm-hmm. Like, and I assume that will probably encompass, gun manufacturers like, hey, our quarters are down. I mean, they've had a great year. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want to say since like end of January, every firearm and like bullet manufacturer's been like, like if they don't have record like pension bonuses this fucking year, they've been doing something wrong with their money. Yeah. But if they need to save it all, I don't think they will, because people are pretty much keyed into home defense and defending themselves. Which, if you want to say one great thing away from 2020, that's one of them. Yeah. Regardless of what they bought, at least they're trying to learn how to defend themselves.
That's true. No, that's a great thing. Yeah. No, I'm on board with that.
But I think you're gonna.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, it's a very lukewarm but blanket statement. I'm cautiously optimistic that the oligarchs want things to go back to normal, where you had like a nondescript gray suit person like from Futurama, just continuing the narrative, ad nauseum. I think that's what they wanted, and I think that's kind of what you're getting back. They just were very not so subtle about kicking Trump out. Kind of had Donald Trump for 4 years saying the most bombast, like the bombast and the nonsensical didn't stop the campaign trail. Right. And the guy kept doing like, rock star fucking tours. One of the most wild things I want to say about this guy is he knew how to work the media in the crowd. Like that's one positive thing I will give him, because I have a cousin who's like But he's almost Gen X, but he's still like in a boomer year, like the year before it officially became Gen X. But he's more Gen X than boom, like that weird overlap I told you about. But every time there was a Trump rally in PA, he would freaking show up to it. And he showed me a cell phone video where like it was in Hershey and the place was filled to capacity. There was literally people standing in the aisle and everything, you know. And all of the local news media weren't out with the crowd. They were literally like right up to where Trump was.
Right.
And he would get out and he'd say hello to everybody and wave to them. When the crowd had died down, he goes, I want you to look at all this news media here. He goes, they're going to show the people on the sides. But he said, I guarantee you, he said, they'll tell you that you didn't have good turnout. He said, we're filled past capacity.
Yeah.
And they legitimately were. And he would just say, they'll give me a lukewarm reception. Make sure you watch the news tomorrow. And he literally call them motherfucking bullshit.
Yep.
And you have somebody like that. And I think I talked to you about it before, either like on the phone or maybe when I did the show. I'm not 100% sure, but like him and Bernie Sanders in 2016, they were both bricks for the plate glass window of the establishment. The only problem was, you know, Bernie Sanders was supplanted by Hillary Clinton, who was the establishment, and the Republican Party didn't put anybody through. They're like, Trump's not going to make it. Well, Trump was Trump was the brick that went through every plate glass the GOP had, and he won in a landslide.
Yep.
You know, he got him, but the problem was he didn't stop smashing windows. He kept breaking.
Yeah, he pissed people off.
And I mean, stuff did go through. And that's sort of tying back into your question about 2020. I think that made a lot of people with money uncomfortable due to his volatility and the way he sort of would talk on Twitter. I think getting someone like Biden and Kamala Harris, they're very, they're known quantities. They're an empty suit, you know, or in Kamala's case, an empty pantsuit, and they're just going to continue the status quo. You know, wars will continue, you know, uninhibited. You know, our relationship with Israel will continue. You know, I think it's just going to keep going until something breaks.
Yeah. No, I see
and
that.
That's my cautious, you know, observation.
That's pretty much what I see. Exactly. Yeah. Going back to the norm, especially with the Biden-Harris presidency. The only things I would add is that Africa's the next frontier for war, like the Middle East. I think that's going to be the next place for great resource wars. I think that's going to happen. And I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, China's in there pretty deep already, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Huge. Absolutely huge in Africa. I don't know what's going to happen with the transfer of wealth that's happening, the shutting down of small businesses and the keep propping up of giant corporations. I think there's got to be something coming from that. I think that's the only thing that's going to disrupt, you know, the normal presidency stuff continuing.
Right. So if I think you and I might be on the same page, but correct me if I'm wrong, but like the thought process is that all the little guys combined, including the little guys working for the big corporations, they're all paying in their taxes. And the middle class, which is dwindling, including the lower class, there are what's propping up the government.
Right.
And the government in turn looks at all these, because our economy largely went from producing things to speculative economy. That's why we have bubbles so much. And they turn around and look at these too big to fail corporations, whether they're banks or arms producers or whatever. And they just said, well, here's your aid. You know, they give them welfare. And then they, in turn, instead of improving their production line, they turn around and inflate their stock prices. So the speculation on where that bubble will burst is that once you destroy the middle and the lower class, that they'll run out of like bailouts and tax money, and you'll just sort of see it implode. So, you know, the stock value will suddenly shrink and devalue. You'll have a market crash. You'll suddenly have people that were so smug and happy with their government jobs suddenly looking at it going like, oh no, they don't need a middle manager that forwards emails at the homeless department, you know, like I lost my job, you know, and it keeps shrinking from there, you know, and you don't have a small, not quite a city, but not quite a town either, you know, who has a SWAT team suddenly finds itself not having enough money to keep a SWAT team. And, you know, it turns into, you know, Andy Griffith and God, what the hell's that other name? Barney Fife. You know,
Yeah.
it's you see it shrink back.
Right.
That's sort of, I guess, the projected what the crash might look like, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
it all
I don't know if you buy into
depends.
peak oil, but that one's there too.
I think it all depends on if they're able to keep people comfortable or not. Like, you know, we always have talked about that, and everybody thinks it hinges on that. And I think that hinges on the handouts, and if they can ditch the dollar in favor of a digital dollar, something that they can manipulate, that, you know,
Yeah.
if the dollar is going to crash or not. And
They've rumbled about that. Yeah.
yeah, because that's the only reason that I didn't throw in civil war of some sort, balkanization or secession to my predictions for 2021, is because I think along with another, you know, run of the mill Democratic presidency is going to come plenty of handouts to keep people placated, so that doesn't happen, so people don't get uncomfortable.
Oh, sure. Sure. I mean, a lot of people have, like, I swear, like, I could be wrong, and I'm sure somebody will correct me, and please do, because I'm awful curious. But every time something doesn't go Texas's way, they'll saber rattle about secession, which I think is a great, wonderful idea. They fucking should. God bless them if they do, and God bless Texas. But, like, I swear their government leadership will saber rattle until, like, DC gives them whatever it is they really want. And then they'll just, you know, they'll bite the hand that feeds, so to speak, but at least they're getting fed now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
no, it absolutely does.
It's kind of going with what I'm saying is, you know, maybe they're just, yeah.
No, it makes sense, and that's why I'm wondering about, like, the transfer of wealth, is because they're destroying people's livelihoods right now, and it feels like, you know, now that I've calmed down and watched it happen for a while and nothing really pop off, it feels like they're seeing how far they can push it, while avoiding a giant civil unrest incident or actual secession movements happening.
All avoiding a rope waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would certainly say that a lot of the Democratic states, Pennsylvania, especially New York, especially, when you watch them on TV, they're so condescendingly arrogant and smug about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they like the Pennsylvania governor almost reminds you of the guy that, like, at the end of a long, hard day is sitting around destroying people's lives. He probably takes his snocks off and he, like, takes a sniff of them to, you know, imagine how great he is.
Yep.
You know, it's the other thing I hadn't thought about too was that meme that said during 1770s up to 1776, revolutionaries had met in churches, taverns, and eateries. And what have they closed down during this pandemic? All through.
Yes, indeed. No, and people are thinking about that. They're aware of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been saying it online. What we got to do is get some good old tar and feathering going, because that's the perfect dip your toes in action for people who are upset at politicians, because everyone's pushing guillotines, and it's like, okay, you guys have built guillotines, you've taken them to fucking courthouses, whatever, you haven't done shit with them, because nobody's going to be dragging people out and cutting off their heads. Now,
right,
if you brought a little bit of tar and a few fucking pillows to some governor's speech or something and nabbed them and dumped the tar on them and put some feathers on them, you know, that's great. That gets people who aren't quite as radicalized. Yeah. You dip your toes into some revolution, and it's funny. It's perfect, and it sends a warning. But, yeah, We'll see if that happens.
Oh, yeah. I've kind of actively wondered that about people who, and again, this is going back to what we're talking about, resistance. You know, people will go and spend their money there because you're voting with your wallet, which is a good thing, to support their message and their ideals. I just kind of wonder, like, does anybody that's spying go there? Like, if the health department shows up with a constable or something, like, you know, maybe talk to them with some de-escalation. Don't be as violent as they are. Right. Like, we both know the state speaks violence, and they speaks it, as I talk like Popeye the Sailor, they speaks it better than most of us ever could on an individual level. But if you couldn't de-escalate it, why not just, you know, take the old box cutter, strip them down, tar and feather them, kick them in the back of the car, and just drop them off wherever they came from.
Yep.
You know,
hopefully that's the
send
next
home
step.
some chickens for Christmas.
Let's close it off on that, man. Make politicians birds again. I love it. We did a fast hour. No problem. Thanks for coming on. That was awesome. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Hell yeah.
Dope. All right.
Yes.
Well, we will catch you all.
Had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, fucking A, man. It's always a good time with you, buddy. And thanks for supporting the show. And we'll catch everybody in the new year. Stay safe. Beyond the Ballot is officially sponsored by Project Sparta. Now's the time to get healthy and in shape. Greg Papanicholas is going to get you there with personalized meal plans, training, group support, and tons of amazing fitness and motivational resources and knowledge, including the Project Sparta Facebook group. You can go to projectspartacoaching.com and learn more about Greg's work and get started on your path to health. In this crazy world we're living in, our health is more important than ever. Get up, start learning, communicating, and training. One of the most important and often neglected things in life is your physical health. Get to projectspartacoaching.com now and get after it.
Professional anarchists.
You guys are getting paid?